All right, here we are. We got the man, the myth, the legend. Ross Simmonds, give him the pound, bro.
Appreciate
Thanks for coming through,
Thanks
man.
for coming in.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
you guys having me.
100%.
Thanks a lot.
Man, it's a super pleasure of ours, man, for real.
Yo, a real mentor from afar. You know, I think you might know Cavell a bit more just in terms of age gap.
Yeah, we
but
grew up on the doing all the things.
Exactly.
Yeah, Ross was always there, man.
Yeah,
Ross was always there. Until he wasn't, but he was always there.
Always
Even
there.
when he wasn't, it's like, But no, Ross the homie for real.
Yeah, and I remember always seeing you and, you know, seeing your cousins and all those guys. Shout out to the cousins, the hockey player boys.
Marcus,
Gary,
exactly.
Tyler.
All
they
the
got a
boys.
big family,
Simmons
bro. They
huge,
got
man.
a big, like legendary family.
Yeah.
Legendary family in the community.
Yeah, and we're going to tap
Carlette.
Shout out to Carlette.
Yeah,
Everybody got the grind going too.
Yeah, that's
That
it,
was
man.
the goal.
While we're actually talking, this episode is actually brought to you by the Peace Tournament.
Hey, love it.
Shout out to the Peace Tournament, one of the biggest cultural experiences in Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
A revamp on the legendary black basketball tournament.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Brought to life with some new flavor, some new wave, parties, games, some of the biggest talent in the city.
Yeah. We're coming back this
hopefully
year,
we're back
too.
this year.
Yeah, we're coming back this year, too.
2022.
Hopefully everything is,
In the clear.
COVID friendly.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But yeah, we got some
6
plans.
waves.
Yeah. Wave 7.
Exactly.
Pretty soon it'll be 22, and we'll be just like, it's wave 22.
This is what we do now. We're good. So shout out to the Peace Tournament.
Yeah.
But, you know, back to Ross, like I said, you know, a real mogul, a real inspiration to watch from afar. I don't care wherever you're at, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, follow up Ross. He pushes nothing but content and good value, and some of that stuff we'll tap into. So we'll get right to it, man.
Let's do it.
Originally from the Prestons.
Yes.
You know, like
Preston
us, Preston
made.
boys, you know what I'm saying?
Indeed.
Legendary spot. Tell us about growing up in Preston. What was it like? And just a bit about you growing up.
Yeah, I loved it, man. I think a lot of times you hear the media and the press give Preston a bad rep, but I got to say without question, if it wasn't for the community, I wouldn't be who I am today. There's this sentiment across the community that it takes a village to raise a child, and I'd say like that is so true. It's so real from the like fundamental days. I can remember like going to things like Black Tournament and then just being in the back seat of somebody's van and then going up home and then being like, I'm good.
Exactly.
I don't know who's driving.
Yeah.
I don't know who's next to me, but I know I'm good. And my parents will tell me like, that's okay. It's like, that doesn't exist in a lot of communities, but you always knew you were good, no matter where you went. And I think there was a lot of value in that instilled from early days. Being surrounded, I think also by a lot of entrepreneurs at a young age was very pivotal. My grandfather ran Vic's Paving back when we were young. My grandmother worked for that company, and I got a first glimpse at entrepreneurship by directly watching him, as well as his brothers with Simmonds Paving, etc., and what they had built. And it was cool to see, right? Like I was able to see like, oh wow, Granddad can wake up whenever he wants. He can work for who he wants. He doesn't have anybody telling him what to do. Sounds like a good gig, right? So when I saw that, it just blew my mind. And I would say like for me, Preston's home. I'm always there. And like for me at the fundamental level, it would be like if it wasn't for the community, I don't know where I'd be. But the community also, I would say, pushed me in many ways to do what I do. One of my cousins, he's passed since, but Brandon Beals, he was very influential in my early days of saying like, Ross, look, everybody's going to do their own thing. You're special. Do your thing. And I want to make sure that you stay on focus, like stay on track where you're going. So I give a major shout out to him for playing a very pivotal role back in my high school days of saying, Ross, look, you got something, chase it, embrace it, and go. And then I just leaned into that fully.
For sure, definitely. You know, I think that's always been one of the things too. Like, you know, coming from the community, there's so many inspirations, and a lot of times the community is so interconnected. So like you wouldn't know like some of the people that would have influence over somebody. Like it'd be like, not to say like, you know, a random person, but like the community's so connected, but we don't always see those the angles. You know what I mean?
I never seen that connection.
Right.
From Charles Smore and Roach. You know, for sure. I never seen that. I never knew you guys were connected. Knew your family, but to hear that is like, okay, shoot. And then there's some guys over on the other over here that's super connected and might have been inspired by him. So to hear that is powerful for sure.
Definitely.
You mentioned, you know, your grandfathers being entrepreneurs. You got a lot of entrepreneurs in your family. And that was a real blessing to see how do you think that impacted you? How did you think, what were your early days like in that and seeing that?
I think it changed my perspective significantly around like, one, the power of control and ownership and like the value of it. Like that was one of the fundamental things that I kind of had instilled in me from the get-go, because like I'm a very hard-headed person and I don't like people telling me what to do. So when I was able to look at him and be like, oh, you run your calendar, like you can do what you want when you want, like that's kind of the path that I want to take. And then when I got deeper and I started to go beyond like the community level businesses and I started to see the possibilities of scale and growth, then I was like, oh, this is going to be real. Like there's a lot of opportunity here. I think a lot of times we get caught up in this idea of just being very localized with our goals, our ambitions, and where we want to go. But the moment I stepped out and I was like, all right, Grande can run a business here and do well. But I started to look at people outside in the market, outside of the community, and I was like, oh, they're doing 10 times, 20 times, 50, 100 times. How can I get that? And I think consistently people in the community push me and they would say, Rosh, you got this. Like you can do this, blah, blah, blah. I can remember when I graduated from from high school. I stood up on stage and I got probably $20K in scholarships and bursaries. But prior to that, the community was pushing me to write every paper, to go out and apply for every single scholarship, everything and anything that I could see. They were like, Ross, throw your hat in the ring, throw your hat in the ring. And I was up there making like, got $20K on the back of that.
A lot of times too, man, like, again, like I kind of got the cheat code because I was around and watched you, from a distance, but like we were connected, but like, it was always, something about you that was different, but it was like, it's something about this guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it was always like Ross is there. Right. But it's like, man, there's something about this guy. And I think, like, I don't know when you would have, like, first used the handle, the cool is cool.
Right. Yeah.
But I swear, like, for me, that was like, yo, that's who Ross is. Like, he's the coolest cool. Like, he's Ross. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, I guess I had a question, too, about, like, when did that shift happen when you started to look outside and see like the magnitude of business? Like, when you talk about your grandfather and you talk about scalability, like
it was high school, man. So like in high school, I ran my first business selling do-rags out of the locker. And I made a good mint. Like I was able to buy poutine every day for lunch. And I was like, this is sick. Like this is like good. But then at the same time, I was working on the internet and I was like just creating content about Madden and things like that. On the weekends, we would go to Don's, all that stuff. But I was also down and back just like creating some content. And then I started to realize like people were visiting this stuff from all over the world. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I don't think most people even realize that you can live in Preston, create something on the internet and reach somebody who's in California, in Sweden, in Germany, in France, etc. So I just went hard and I continued to create content. And at that time, I didn't really know why I was doing it. I was just creating it because I liked creating content about football. I liked creating content about video games. So I was just like doing that, trying to see like what this thing was all about. But after high school, it started to like pay money. So I started to generate affiliate revenue through my fantasy football blog. I was like, this is great. This is awesome. And the traffic just went through the roof. So I started to get like tons of recognition all over the globe on the back of this. And then I was like, okay, if I can start attracting people from my parents' basement all over the globe, this is real. Like there's a massive opportunity there. And I think one of the biggest cheat codes in life is to look at people who are where you want to be and then look at how they got there. Right. So at that moment, I decided I was going to spend pretty much a full weekend at the library just like studying, going on LinkedIn and like researching how people who were successful got to where they were. Right. So I started to look back at like, how did they get there? What did they do? And then I was like, all right, I got to do the same thing. So I just started to follow in those steps. And one of the things that was consistent was that people were consistently creating value for other people. So I said, all right, now I need to just add a ton of value to the internets essentially and just start producing more and more content. So I just doubled down on that and started to produce. And then I remember I was in my parents' basement again and I got an email from somebody who was in San Diego and they were like, yo, can you come down and speak at our event? I was like, what do you mean? I'm 22, flying me down to San Diego. This is kind of wild. But I did it. And it was one of the like biggest Fortune 500 companies in the globe. And I was like, this is nuts, right? So that's when the mental shift truly started to happen. But I would say from a very young age, I was ambitious and hungry for like wealth, to be honest. Like that at the core was something that was innate in me early on. Like I knew that I wanted more and I knew that I wouldn't call it jealousy, but like when I saw other people living good, I was like, I
Sure,
want to do
I want
that.
that too.
My grandmother told me at a very early age as well, like, Ross, I'm sorry, but I don't visit jail. So I couldn't go down that path,
for sure,
right?
for
Like
sure, for
there
sure.
was an opportunity,
Yeah.
right? And I
Yeah.
think I would have killed, but but Nana told
talk
me I
about that
can't
a
do
lot.
it.
Marketing,
Nana told me I couldn't do it. So
Yeah,
I was like, all
straight.
right, I got to go
Shout out
into the
to Nana.
corporate and I got to like double
Yeah.
down on that. And that's kind of been the path that I took. And it's paid amazing dividends.
That's huge, you know, and I mean, like, just for the listeners too, like, for those that don't know, like, you know, Ross, we introduced him from Preston. He spoke about being from Preston, you know, and share, you know, because I'm from North Preston.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
sure.
but you're from Preston.
I'm from Preston. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I say that intentionally all the time. And
Yeah.
we're always confused by it, but I'm pretty much a 50-50 boy.
100%.
My dad, born and raised, bred up home, Simmonds family,
Yeah.
played ball. Like he was a up home guy.
Always making noise in the
Always.
Oh man, I used to
Always,
hate when we
yeah.
used to play East Preston, man. Right? He used to make some crazy
It's true,
noise.
but it was
yeah.
sick. It was like the
Yeah.
East Preston Pacers versus North Preston Bulls. Dad was like the old school Bulls guy. Like
Yeah.
he was originally from up home, but then he was coaching the East
Yeah.
Preston team. So there was a mad rivalry, but him and your dad was super close, and they
Yeah.
had us in the fantasy leagues when
Yeah.
we were like 12.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's
yeah.
a different story. But yeah, so that's dad. And then on the East Preston side, my mom, born and raised in East Preston, and she's been influential in that community.
Yeah.
She's very deep in the church.
Yeah.
She's now going to have her ordination where she's studied and is now going to be a pastor and
Sick.
that whole thing. So yeah, like definitely born and raised on both sides. And
Yeah.
I would say like it was always like, I would say every weekend of my childhood was spent up home.
Yeah.
Where it was just like what I did every
Yeah.
weekend. On Friday I would get dropped off and then I would just like chill. And I didn't want to be anywhere else.
Yeah,
Like, I loved
yeah.
it. And then during the week I was out east.
Yeah.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
your mom too, you know, she's a really like genuine spirit.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
every time I ever seen her, like even before I knew her name,
Right.
like it was just real genuine love, man. So, you know, that shout out to your mom too
Yeah,
for sure.
appreciate it. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
think all of us are kind of lucky in that sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we got
Yeah.
the lottery
Yeah.
when it comes down to parents and having the ability to have some amazing values instilled in us from a young age. Yeah, I think shout out to the parents. Like that's key. And for anyone listening who is a parent, I think that's another thing to like recognize. Like it's one of the most influential roles that you can play. So like I'm still a new dad. Like I'm early into the game, but I think you got to take that real seriously.
Yeah.
Like you're going to ultimately have the ability to fundamentally shape this person's life, and you can set them up for success. So double down on that. Shout out to the mom. Shout out to the dads. Everybody who's doing their thing. Everybody who's showing up. It's key.
Straight.
Showing up 100%.
Straight.
So you got you in high school. You selling do-rags, buying poutine.
Yeah.
You're graduating.
Yeah.
Got about $20,000 in scholarships. And you're going to university.
Still
You went
in
to
debt,
SMU.
though.
Still in debt.
Broke.
Oh,
Still
yeah. Let me
broke.
tell what you're telling
Broke
about,
is
man.
a joke.
100%.
$5 in the gas tank, right?
So you're going to SMU, right? Shout out to
Yeah,
SMU. Shout out to SMU. I'm a SMU guy, too, later in life. Did you know what you want to do in university? What did you
guys ever
take?
see the movie Boomerang?
I
Eddie
did.
Murphy?
I did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
yeah,
when I
yeah,
seen
yeah,
that
yeah.
movie, I was like, this is what I want to do. I saw Boomerang. I was like, Marcus Garvey, this guy is in Boomerang,
Yeah.
balling. He's
Yeah.
got nice Rolls
Yeah.
Royce. He's living good.
Yeah.
What's he do? Oh, he's in marketing. I'm going down that path. So
Sick.
that was kind of like my
Sick.
first inspiration into
Yeah.
it, where I was like, okay, I'm not like my original plan was like, I want to be a doctor.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. I got into my first bio class. I got into my first chemistry. I was like, this isn't
It's
interesting
not
to
me.
me. Like there's a cap.
Yeah,
Like, there's
yeah,
a cap
yeah.
to it. And I do say shout out to anyone in that field. Like I think there's amazing work to be done now.
Yeah.
I had a lot of limitations on what I believe science could do.
Right.
Now I think science, even as a business, is a massive opportunity.
100%.
And you can do
Healthcare
unlock
as a
amazing
business.
wealth. Like there's tons of
Yeah,
value there.
yeah.
But in high school at the moment, I was like, nah, this isn't for me. I want to go into something that's unlimited. So marketing and business felt like that.
Yeah.
The internet felt like that.
Yeah.
And still is truly that. So that was one of the key pivotal moments. And then I would say something that also shows up in not just our community, but Nova Scotians and Canadians is this imposter syndrome idea that like we're smaller
Yep.
and not as good
Yeah.
as people down in the States
Yeah.
or on a global scale. When I was in university and I started to go to classes and seminars and hear people talk, I was like, man, none of these people are that good. Like I had these ideas that these people were spectacular and fascinating, like miles
Yeah.
ahead of me.
Yeah.
And then I start going to the sessions and I'm like, oh, this is nothing.
Yeah.
This guy's just like me.
regular
He's
guy.
average,
Yeah,
regular.
yeah.
But I think that's a big trap. I think it's a massive trap. Like I can say with confidence, one of the biggest biggest failures of the last, I'd say, our lifetime is the fact there was a lot of boys that we grew up with that were actually geniuses.
100%.
And that genius did not get unlocked because they were limited through the system, through a handful of different things. Man, when I think about the skills and the talents that some of the boys had, it probably still have.
We probably were on the bottom end of that spectrum. For
Easily.
sure. 100%.
Easily.
100%.
I can
100%.
remember going into parties and people were literally freestyling on the top of their minds, coming up with words that I didn't know. And I was like, how's he know this stuff?
Exactly.
Like, this is wild. That's a genius
100%.
that literally never got unlocked. And I think like one of the other pieces to it is distribution of our ability to kind of get our stories out there and to get our work out there is something that limits us in Nova Scotia because we're a small place. If you're in California, like I can say with confidence, a lot of the people that we grew up with would have been like amazing.
For sure.
And I think the same thing happens in business, but we stay limited to thinking this is all
this
I can
level.
do. This is all I can do. It's not. Like the scale is so much more significant. And I think I would challenge everyone listening here to think about their goals and where they want to be and then multiply that by like 10.
Will be. And I think you personify that. And that's one of the things I kind of look to you. And I think Nova Scotians, not only black people, Nova Scotians look to you as like, this guy's global, right? You speak around the world. We'll get into some of that stuff. But you know, you're not a local guy. But you're local, right? And you're able to cross those platforms. And you know, from what I'm hearing, it was just thinking that you could, and seeing it and believing it, and just going and doing it. And your skills were able to show. And again, this is a guy from Preston, North Preston and East Preston.
Right? He's a leader in the world.
In the world,
he's a leader in Nova Scotia. Like, you know what I mean? So that's just big, like in itself. And I think too, like, you know, the unique thing, like even me sitting here, like I'm just in awe, like listening to this guy that I know. But the coolest thing too was the coolest thing too was that, you know, like growing up and watching you, it will seem like there was a lot going on in your brain. You know what I mean? And now, like, as you grow and get older and like you start unlocking that, man, like, you know, I really see like, yo, this man had the big fro, but like there was a lot happening up there. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to hear like how some of that stuff transpired, like, you know.
And you found a unique way to express it. You know, for us and for the homies we're talking about it, we had maybe 2 or 3 pathways to express that.
100%.
Music, we had a lot of musicians, a lot of ball players, and a lot of guys in the streets. And we had some successes in those places.
We have.
You know what I'm saying? You talked about, like, if you would have went that way, you probably would have been super successful. I talk about it all the time. You know what I'm saying? I would have been the biggest pimp ever.
The man's thinking global.
You know, he's thinking global. And I always have make that joke as well. But, you know, again, our distribution channels, our avenues were so limited. But if, you know, we're able to open those up, and that's why we want to bring you on here and share that message. I
think it's so key to also like understand the math game around going to the league, make it in like the music world as well. Like for me, I can remember it. I can remember the exact moment where I like had that conversation. I was up home and I was talking to Marcus about like him wanting to go to NHL. I was talking to the homies about like Gary was thinking NBA, and I was like, all right, let me do the math. What is the actual likelihood that you can get into the NBA? Like how many guys play in the NBA? What's the number? Does anybody know? It's like probably
32 teams, 16 people.
It was like 2,200 or something.
2,200. How many millionaires are there in the world?
Exactly.
Right. Like there's a lot. How many of them became millionaires because of basketball or music? Not a lot.
Very little.
Right.
Straight.
So
probably less than 1%.
When you look at those numbers, it becomes very clear that there's other avenues that you can take to get to the goal that you want. When I look at like the most recent
pause, double back, say it again, let people understand that. Because that's the shit.
That's the message.
That's the shit right there. That's the shit right there. Like people need to understand that number. So we're not gonna rewind. He's gonna say it again because you really gotta hone in on that. Like, give it to him one more time.
When you look at the world's total population of millionaires, right? Less than, I would say with a guarantee, less than 5% of them got there on the back of sports or on the back of music. The vast majority of them did not get it through that. They got it through entrepreneurship and business, right? Or investing and things of that nature. But when we think the only 2 paths are the league and music, that's the path that we think we have to take, but it's not, right? We live in what I think is the best time to ever be an entrepreneur,
100%.
right? Like, what's that number? Is there
51 million millionaires in the world?
51 million millionaires, and we're trying to take 2,300 people
Come on, man.
who
Come on,
play
man.
ball for a little bit, blow their meniscus.
You know what I'm saying?
How many Kobe's are there? One, right?
Literally.
And there's only 60 jobs. We talked about this when he was 12. There's 60 job opportunities a year. So you got to be in the top 60 to enter the NBA. You know what I mean?
I seen a stat. You have a better chance of building a unicorn business, which means a business that makes $1 billion, than you have going to the NBA.
So what's worth chasing?
100%.
And I respect all dreams and ambitions and all of that. But like, to me, it's a numbers game.
Exactly.
You can chase $1 billion company and fail and make 50 million.
Yeah.
And that's a failure.
That's a failure, right? You can chase $1 billion business and make $1 million.
Yeah.
And that's a failure.
Yeah.
You could make $250,000.
Yeah.
And that will change a lot of people's lives, right? Like, I think we have this misconstrued concept of what wealth looks like, when in reality you can get it so many different ways. And the league and music are not the only ways, right? Like, they're not
very small.
The streets is like, we talked about that shit in one of our episodes too. You know what I mean? Like, the streets, it's such a limiting opportunity.
The market cap is small.
The market cap is
literally, it's a small market cap. And then we come over in this world, we talked about on their podcast as well. One of my homies in college, his parents own a ham net company where they make $1 million a year selling the nets that go around ham.
That's it.
So it's like, is anything we can do over here?
Anything. And I think we got to also like stop sleeping on the fact that we've got some real skills that can be applied already to business and add value, right? Like, all we have to do is recognize, like, we're just as good as everybody else. Like, anybody who's a plumber, anybody who's an electrician, anybody who is a handyman, anybody who can do braids, like, you have skills. Those skills don't have an actual limit when you start to think about it from a sense that, okay, I can build a team around this. I can hire people around this. Oh, can I create a YouTube channel talking about how to braid someone's hair? You know how many millions of views you could get if you created a YouTube channel teaching dads how to braid their daughter's hair?
Ross Simmonds, folks.
Do you know how much? A lot.
A whole lot. Dads is having hard times.
And then you start selling a book on it, right? And that's more money that you're
Then you
making.
start selling a comb.
Right.
Then you start selling the grease.
And guess when these things are selling? While you sleep. So for me, when I started to make my first notifications, ding, ding, ching, ching, when I was sleeping, I was like, the internet is real, right? Like, I don't have to be awake. I don't have to walk into an office and I'm making money. Okay, let's go.
Sign me up.
Like, that's the game, right? When you can start to make money in your sleep, you've unlocked something that's real.
And that's it. Like, that's what a lot of people, everybody talks about. I'm trying to make money when I sleep. I talk to people all the time, like, like, I'm trying to be my own boss. I'm trying to make money when I sleep. You know what I mean? And like, the stuff that, that they're talking about trying to do is like, everything I see that you're saying is trading your time for money.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like, majority of times, like, man, the internet is the easiest way to do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
is.
Like, it's the easiest way.
And you got to start somewhere, right? Like, at the end of the day, a lot of folks have these visions of, okay, I want to have a $1 million business. Well, first you got to have a business that makes $1,000, right? Like, first you have to make $1,000. So how do you do that? You come up with something that you can sell. One of the easiest things that anyone can do right now, if you are in front of a computer or whatever you're using, open up a new tab and go to Upwork.com, go to Fiverr.com, any of these sites, and go to the various services that you can buy on these sites. You can do those services for people and make a lot of money. And I think we always think, I need to find the great idea. You don't need a great idea. You just need to have something that can make money. And there's no reason to try to make the next Facebook. You don't need to try to make the next Instagram. All you need to do is find something that's going to get you to that first 1,000. Once you have that 1,000, you're going to take some of it and you're going to put it into your pocket, but you're going to take the rest and you're going to invest it back into that business so you can continue to grow it and scale it. Rinse and repeat. You do that for 5 years, you got $100,000. You got a $200,000 business, right? And then you're set. You're set to constantly just be doing the things that you want to do. I think one of the biggest mistakes is that we underestimate the importance of keeping it very simple in the beginning, stop buying business cards. Like, you don't need to spend your money on that right now.
Those days are over.
Sell something. Go sell something. Get the value. And it doesn't matter if it's a sweaty job or if it's an internet job. You have to first get the capital that then you can use. And when I say capital, I'm talking about money. Once you have that, you can then use it to buy new things. You can buy, and when I say buy new things, I'm not talking about a PS5 unless you're going to sell it. I'm talking about like buying things that are going to give you additional value. Right. So you're going to buy access to someone who's going to support your business. You're going to buy marketing. You're going to buy reach. You're going to buy an investment into something, right? Like I think use your money so it works for you. And if you have a long-term perspective on it, the entire game changes. But I will say, amidst all of that, I think everyone needs to be thinking about tech because it is the greatest and biggest opportunity for wealth of this generation. And we cannot sleep on it, folks. Like we've been cut out of past waves of generational wealth. So let's not sleep on the next one because it's going to be real, and it's already real. Like there's already more millionaires and billionaires being created on the back of technology specific assets and opportunities. Stop sleeping on it, and don't be intimidated. You don't need to know how to code. I don't know how to code. I know enough to be deadly, but I don't know how to like code pure. But I'm in tech. I'm in SaaS, and I do really, really well. But like, I don't know how to code. We're going to
talk about that.
You don't, I don't know how to code, right? And I think a lot of people think you do, but you don't. Like you can be a salesperson in tech and make bank. You can be a marketing. You can be a founder. You can start to invest in these types of companies. You
could run teams. Like if you're a good leader, you could just run the teams that are, you know what I mean? Like coaching people is real.
How many
designers?
How many, we bring it to the streets, how many drug dealers we know that don't know how to cook. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how to cook, but
you still run.
You understand the product. You understand customers. You understand the business. So I don't gotta know the business. We don't know how to cook food. We run two successful food businesses. I definitely know that. He learning. I don't know how to cook at all, right? But that's a huge part in the tech world, and we're gonna clip that and make sure that gets so. You know, it's so key. It's key and it's changing and it's the next wealth.
It's the next
that's happening. It's happening in front of our faces.
But I think kids, like you got to understand, man. Like like the world is yours. You're users of the tech. Start creating it. Start putting yourself on the other side of it.
This isn't even planned, but I want to do something fun. So anybody watching this, anybody listening to this, who's a kid who wants to get into tech, wants to get into this space, but might say, I don't have a laptop, blah, blah, blah. Let's give away a MacBook right now, right? Tag somebody on whatever this is on Instagram in the comments and tag them and tell them what you want to do in tech, something that's your vision. And you guys can pick the winner. Whoever tags whoever, I'll send them a MacBook.
Ross Simmonds, the Preston genius, but also the Preston man with heart.
You know what I'm saying?
But seriously, man, like 100%. I think access when we were growing up, access was one of the biggest things, right? Like my parents were like, I was lucky because my parents brought home a computer that was probably secondhand. It was big, it was bulky. But I was able to get into that, right? And I was able to access that and use it to kind of figure out, this internet thing is going to last and it's going to be real. But I think if we don't have access to the computers, to the devices, and to this new economy, it's going to hold us back. Internet access in Preston was brutal when we were kids. Like now we have access, right? We had to have those it was brutal back then. It just wasn't good. But now we have access. So I think anybody listening to this recognize there's never been a better time to be in tech and use it. And if you have questions about it, by all means, reach out. Because here's another thing that I notice. People from our community don't reach out, but everybody else reaches out to me. Every other person will reach out. Ross, I got a son who wants to get into tech. Can you talk to them? Yeah, sure. But nobody from the community does. So if you are in the community, by all means, drop me a line. I'd be happy to chat with folks. I think the reason why I show up to things like that is I've been in so many boardrooms where I see people that don't look like me. And I have an underlying belief that when I leave this world, I want to see more Rosses have come up from the community and from the space, and to be able to make space in those boardrooms where you do see more people that look like us, because it's a massive opportunity and we've been cut out. So let's change that.
100%. Big. So tag someone below and get yourself a MacBook.
And for sure.
And we definitely going to holler back. And I see a program, a convo, whatever time you can make a month, whatever, just a day where kids can come holler at you and hear your story and create that bridge of access and getting into that world. Next I got, so you're in college, you're getting out of school. You believe you got a marketing job after school?
Yeah, so my first gig was at CBC. So I competed against a bunch of MBAs. I was a Bachelor of Commerce guy and competed for this program at CBC where they were constantly giving it to the MBAs, but I'm kind of like, I've got a chip, and I'm always like, I can beat anyone. So let's throw my hat in the ring and let's kill. And I killed, and I got it. So I did that. They extended me. It was supposed to be like a 6-month thing. They were like, no, we want you for good. I was like, let's do it. And then I was like, no, I got to be an entrepreneur again. Quit, started my own company, was doing that for a bit, started to engage with a lot of the local advertising agencies, trying to figure that whole thing out. Couldn't get a gig with any of them. So I was like, all right, let me just focus on my own. Started to create content, got an offer from a local ad agency, worked there for about a year and a half, quit again, just got my first mortgage at the time. My wife was like, oh, this is nuts. Like, what are you thinking? But we did it. And you fast forward, and I've been out on my own ever since, just building businesses and growing and scaling. And now Foundation as a company, we're 30 people, growing like wildfire. We've got clients all over the globe. We work with some of the biggest software companies in the world. We do work with everything from some of the fastest growing startups. We've done work with all of the big brands.
I told Ross, last time I seen him, I told him, man, you're giving me Devin Booker vibes. Like, when you compare like Devin Booker's legacy that I believe he's going to have in the NBA, like, compared to the all-time greats. And then Neville kind of started doing a little bit of research. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. Like, no, Ross is bigger. I don't know where I'm going to put you at yet, but, I think you in the top 50 legendary people in marketing, because when you started naming some of the people that he's working with, I'm like, hold on, wait, we using them on the back end. Like, these are like huge, massive companies. These ain't like mom and pop shops. These are billion dollar companies, and Ross is running, their marketing. So for me, that was like, holy shit. Like, I knew you were big, but I ain't know how big. You know what I mean? Like, to that extent, man. And so, like again, it's just a proud moment for me always. You know what I mean? Like, somebody that come from where I come from the era that I come from, the time that I come from, and to be doing it at the level that you're doing it at, like, it's like, holy shit,
right.
Ross Simmonds, you know what I mean? Right. And I think, it's just super important to me to, like, I hear people talk about giving people their flowers all the time. But man, like, on TV in real life, man, like, I'm proud of you,
appreciate
bro.
it.
You know what I mean? Like, it makes me want to go harder. I follow you and I repost your stuff all the time, but like, I'll be like,
and I appreciate that,
going through something, I'll be like, oh shit, like, but I ain't even doing it for you, bro.
Right.
I'm doing it for me. Like, yo, like, I'm following you,
sharing
like,
the game with others.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm following you. Like, you're on my, in my pool of influence. You're in it.
Appreciate it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I got all these other people, and I'm like, Ross is giving me the real game. You know what I mean?
And
like,
that's always the goal. Like, our goal at Foundation as a company is we have this vision and this goal, and the mission is to create content that shapes culture. And for me, fundamentally, that's one of the most interesting things about the world that we work on. And what you guys are doing with this podcast is you're shaping culture, right? Like, you're having an influence on the way people think. And I forget who it was. I think it might have been Malcolm X who said, like, the most powerful thing in the world is like the media and how the narrative and the stories that you tell. And when I heard that quote, it was like, right. And what's the modern media? It's the internet and the content and the stories that you tell. So if I can use that to positively shift and shape the way people think, and I can help more people go into entrepreneurship, go into business, go into tech by telling stories, by creating content about this stuff, it's going to allow me to sleep really good at night when I go to bed, because I'll know that I am having a positive impact on the world and those around me. So I think, like, for me, oftentimes when I'm producing content and I'm telling stories, the underlying factor and goal is always like, I want to create content that positively shapes culture. And that mantra and that concept and that idea has allowed us as a company to thrive, but it's also allowed me to wake up every day excited about what we do.
Amazing.
So for Foundation Marketing, that's what you guys do for those businesses. You create content.
So we create everything from the blog posts to the LinkedIn updates, the videos, the repurposed content. We help them strategize what they should be sending out on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, all of that stuff. We help them create and develop the stories that are going to help them drive real results for their business. So we do all of that. And it started with just like myself. So back in the day, rosssimmons.com was the first website. And I started to write about advertising. I started to write about marketing. And people started to read that, and they were like, oh, seems like Ross knows marketing. Ross, can you help us with our marketing? And that was the beginning of the business, where people started to reach out on the back of, again, content that I was creating, wanting me to create content for them and just go from there.
Sick. And like you said, now you have a team of over 25 employees.
Yeah.
And a unique team where you guys are literally worldwide and remote.
Worldwide, yeah.
So you got people in Ohio.
Yeah.
You got people in Africa.
Yeah.
You got people in Michigan, Ireland,
Vancouver,
Nova Scotia,
Ontario.
Kansas City, Nigeria. The list goes on.
Yeah.
What is that like, and what's your kind of thoughts behind that?
There's no borders in the world. It's all in our head, right? Like everybody, the borders were created by people.
Yeah.
They don't exist. All of the borders that we talk about don't exist. It's just land.
Yeah,
And
literally.
then there happens to be these little lines that we magically create.
It's like you get to the there's no like
there's no line. I drive to
I remember
Ontario.
when I first went to the States. I'm like, where's the line
There's
at?
a line.
There's no
It
freaking
doesn't
line.
exist. And I think for some reason we get caught up in that.
Yeah.
But here's the other piece. Like the talent is everywhere. Good people are everywhere. Great people are everywhere. And there are a lot of people who I believe who are in communities and spaces that are underestimated.
Yeah.
So when I look at a lot of the folks in the talent coming out of places like Nigeria, I can say, oh, this is interesting.
Yes.
So this community in this area has been slept on for decades. Let me work with them, right?
Yeah.
And let me bring them into my
Simmonds
community and
effect.
give them the same exact pay that they would get if they were in Nova Scotia,
Straight.
right? Like give them the same pay, no matter where they're at. I'm not going to undermine you and be like, oh, you live in India, so
No,
you're going to
we're
get
gonna
this
charge you
amount.
less,
I'm going to
yeah.
pay you less. No, you're going to get the same pay, same benefits, all of that good stuff. And when you do that, it allows you to attract what I believe are some of the greatest minds. I'm also confident that the same way that we grew up with some genius, that there's been a lot of geniuses who have been buried with their
100%.
genius because they never were given opportunities.
100%.
And because of the internet, I think we are now at an opportunity where we will be able to see more of that genius come to life. The cure to cancer probably got buried in some kid who happened to be living in a rural third world country, right? Like that was in somebody's mind, and their genius just didn't get unlocked because they didn't happen to get born in Nova Scotia. They didn't happen to get born in Boston, New York, something like that.
That's
so
huge.
for me, the power of remote is the ability to unlock and leverage like the fact that those skills are out there.
Yeah.
But more than anything, it's to give my team the ability and the flexibility to work on their own time and for them to be accountable for their work, for them to be treated like full-on adults where they can manage the fact that, you don't need to check in necessarily at 9 or 8, etc. You'd come on and log in and do your work. And as long as the deliverables are done, then you're good and you're straight. It also makes it easier for people to like balance that whole concept of like when they have kids, right? Like if somebody's at home and they need to take care of a little one who's sick, they can do that. So I think remote offers a lot of flexibility. And for a long time, people thought, oh, Ross, you're wild for thinking that you can run a creative company that is fully remote. And I had a lot of people say, like, this is a big mistake. Like, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to do this. Here it is.
That's the driving factor for Ross.
Oh, my driving factor is like, I've got a list. This isn't healthy. I don't encourage anyone to do it. But I have a folder on my computer of everybody who has doubted me, anybody who has said no to me, anybody who has rejected me, dating back to the high school teacher who told me I should go into foundations. Like, I've got it all documented.
That's
a lot was going on.
That's that Michael Jordan shit there.
That was going on,
Michael Jordan shit.
Yeah, it's that I called it the MJ distortion field. And I think
I seen you say that actually.
Every entrepreneur has that where it's like you will tell yourself a story that's going to continuously allow you to be motivated time in and time out. And I think you do have to find it. It's
you need it, man.
Important. You find something that can motivate you every single day. And when you're feeling like you're drained, you're feeling like I can't keep going, you just remember that one person who was like, you're not going to be able to do it.
And that's when I took it personal.
Yeah, and that's when I took it personal. Exactly.
No, 100%, man. Hustle and Grind Co.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about that, what it is, how it came to life.
Yeah.
Because that's some major shit also.
Appreciate it. So Hustle and Grind was a company that I started out of the idea that, again, I want to create content that shapes culture. And it started with just an Instagram account.
Yeah.
We started to share some graphics on Instagram that happened to resonate with people. We were able to take that account and get hundreds of thousands of people following it and engaging. And I was like, what if we started to sell some of these graphics as posters? And people started to buy them. Companies all over the world started to buy orders of these posters to put up in their spaces. And then I was like, all right, I also buy a lot of coffee, and I think we should sell coffee too. So we started to roll out a coffee subscription with the company, and people were able to buy coffee directly from Hustle and Grind as well. Today, I would say Hustle and Grind is primarily in the business of like swag, art, T-shirts, etc. We ended up wrapping up the coffee element of the business just because during over the last few months with the actual shipping costs of food to the States is very difficult. So we shifted that, but it's still going strong. And I think for me, the way that I view that is really an extension of my own brand and of myself, in the sense that Hustle and Grind is meant to be the brand for the entrepreneurs and to inspire entrepreneurs to really achieve what is possible. We have one piece of content that we offer for free, which is 60 side hustle ideas, because I oftentimes think a lot of people who are working a gig realize and want to be entrepreneurs, but they don't think they can do it on the side. But you can take 2 hours every single day and just work on a side project, and you can probably make anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 on the side of your main gig a month. That's real money. Ask yourself what you would do with an extra $500 a month. What would you do with an extra $1,000 a month? A lot of people would do a lot of different things. And if you could save that over the course of a year, you could have $6,000. You could have $12,000. With that, you can do a lot of things, right? So I think a lot of people make the mistake in their 9 to 5. I'm not thinking about like, how can I always be bettering myself, and how can I always be growing? I think there's a lot of value in high growth roles. Like if you're in a growth role where you can actually see yourself scaling and having an opportunity, you can make a lot of money in those roles 100%. But if you're in a spot in your life where you're like doing the same thing day in and day out, and you're itching for something more, and you're itching to really level up your skill set, a side hustle can be a great way to do it. And Hustle and Grind was meant to kind of help people bridge that and see that, and then ultimately do it.
And it's crazy because I was following Hustle and Grind before I even knew it was you. And then one day I'm like, I was on your page, I'm like, what the hell, this Hustle and Grind? I tapped in, I'm like, that's because I follow a lot of those kind of pages, right? But no,
and that's another thing. I'm going to call this out too. Like, we follow all these celebrities and we follow a lot of nonsense. But what we really should be following on social is things that are going to level up our mind.
Right.
Like, there's a lot of hate that social media gets.
But
social media is oftentimes what you make of it. And if you are intentional of following accounts and following people who are going to push you to think differently, that are going to educate you, like Black Wealth Twitter is a thing, Black Wealth Instagram is a thing, Black real estate is a thing. There's all of these subcultures on the internet that once you tap into them, your feed starts to look different. If you go to your feed and all you see are like scandalous photos and things like that, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You want to use your social media accounts to just like level up your mindset. So when you go on there, you want to start following accounts like Hustle and Grind, shameless plug, but there's a bunch of other ones. Start following these different accounts so your feed is filled with information that's going to help you.
That's going to feed you.
That's key. That's going to feed you.
It's there to feed. And we actually had an episode about that, you know, around the stuff we consume from podcasts to music, you know, and we talked a lot about music. If all you're listening to is bang, bang, shoot 'em up, you're going to want to bang, bang, shoot 'em up. If every time you come on Instagram, it's what rappers, baby mamas doing this and what's that's what you become, right? So we want to surround ourselves, and the internet is a way to surround ourselves with those 5 people we want to be like, right?
And that's real.
You know what I'm saying?
I think I can remember early days again, I sent an email to the guy who came up with the slogan, I love Band-Aid brands because Band-Aid stuck on me, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, let me send this guy an email just because. And he was a black guy in the advertising world. And he wrote back. I was like, that triggered for my entire life. Anybody is accessible. Anybody is accessible. You're not limited to the people who you have around you right now as being your circle. You can create a digital circle with some fascinating minds and be mentored by people who don't even know you exist. You can go to somebody's YouTube channel and watch every video they've ever produced over the course of their life and learn from them. I'm not talking about a YouTube video of somebody doing a prank. I'm talking about a YouTube video of somebody like giving value and talking about like their life and their career and learning from them in that way, reading their books, like all of those things. And then following them on social is also a way to level this up. But like, don't lose sight of the fact that with the internet, you can be mentored by anyone. Mentorship can be easily accessible if you just follow, subscribe, and connect with people online who are doing things that you want to do. So powerful.
And that's it, you know, like, you know, for the people that are listening as well, like, you know, there's a million gems in this, and I think, you know, this might be one of those episodes you got to go back and listen to a few times, because like it's just a whole lot of gems coming through. But like, you know, one of the things too, mentorship is so important. And if you look around in your circle, like, and if there's nobody in your circle that you actually want to be like, okay, cool. You know, maybe you may not have the physical like availability to go and find different mentors outside of your circle, but go on the internet, find some people that you want to be like, and follow them. Find some people you want to be like, go hit their YouTube channel up. Like really just, you know, do that. You know what I mean? Like I think about music and a lot of the artists that influenced me, like, and some of these people, like, you know, I believe they had a role in who I am. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know these people. They don't know me. They just put some content into the world. So like, you know, I never really thought about like, who do I want to, what moguls do I want? I follow Master P. You know what I mean? Like I make a count to make sure like I hit notifications, like I follow him. 'Cause I really want to be like that guy. You know what I mean? So like I really genuinely like, yo, how he was doing his things. I'm inspired by it. So, you know, I follow him. So yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, like follow your friends and family, but also follow a handful of people who you would be able to level you up. Like I constantly am trying to follow people in different spaces that help me shape the way that I think, because I think content and the media we consume is so important. So I'll follow folks who are talking about investing, people who are talking about real estate, talking about crypto, talking about SaaS, tech, all of those things, because every time you see it, when you go on your feed, you're learning something new, right? So when you're scrolling on Instagram, you're not wasting time. You're investing time, right? And that's the difference. A lot of people waste time, but you can also invest time. And when you invest your time, you're able to get something back from it. And if you can do that consistently, you might just see on your gram one day, hey, buy Bitcoin or buy. And here's something that I want to also clarify, because I do think cryptocurrency is the big opportunity. You don't need to buy a full Bitcoin. You don't need to buy a full Ethereum. You don't need to buy the full thing. You can buy fractions. So folks, you can buy percentages, little tiny pieces. You can buy 0.001, and that's still owning something. And that is also a massive opportunity.
And that's huge, you know, and I think I always get into different spaces in my mind. I got minor ADHD. But I go into learning curves and learning zones of like, okay, NFTs, it came up. It's always heard it.
Watching you
know what I'm saying? And I dove down a rabbit hole, and how I dove. Okay, when I'm ready, I sit down. I'm like, all right, I'm following 10 NFT Twitter accounts. I'm gonna follow 5 on Instagram.
Awesome.
And then I'm in the space. And now every day I'm learning. Now I come at first, it's like they're saying words that makes no sense. And I'm like, what the hell? But now I'm in the space, so now I know the words. And then they go down a rabbit hole of discords and now I got about 10 NFTs. There you go. You know what I'm saying? And both to level up and understand the metaverse and all that. But, you know, it started from really immersing yourself in those spaces, right?
I think you have to have that beginner's mindset. Right? Like, I think it was Biggie, treat your first like your last and your last like your first. Like, you always need to embrace that idea of showing up with that beginner's mindset, because that feeling of not knowing is actually the feeling of growth. When you go into something and you have no idea what people are talking about, when you go to an event for the first time and you have no idea what they're talking about, that means you're in the right room. If you're in the room and you're talking about things that you have complete understanding over, you're in the wrong rooms. You need to start showing up at different rooms, going to different events.
What you put on Snap last night?
I'm like, you know, basically like if you the I don't know, you're the biggest mind in the room. Like, give all you have while you're there, but then find a new room.
You know
what I mean?
It's real.
But sometimes you're gonna be the biggest mind, and like you know, when we with the little homies, whatever, we're just giving game. But that can't be my room all the time, because I gotta grow to give them more.
It's true.
Right? I gotta grow to give. Like even I'm sitting in this podcast, you know, regularly I'll be always throwing some 2 cents and like, man, I'm really kind of in mute mode. I almost was gonna go on the other side of the table and like, you know, where's the pen? Take notes. You know what I mean? Right. So you want to always make sure you're putting yourself in spaces where
keep leveling it up.
You can keep growing, man.
That's it.
And speaking of level up, you know, you continue to level up. You wrote 2 books. The Hustle Manifesto and Stand Out. Another one where the Hustle Manifesto, I heard about it. I didn't read it, but I, you know, dug into it a bit. And then as I'm doing the research, I'm like, fuck, Ross wrote that book.
He said that to me. He's like, yeah, this man wrote Hustle Manifesto.
Crazy. Right? Tell us a bit, though, why you getting the book writing? What was that like? What are those books about?
Yeah, so Hustle Manifesto was the book that I wrote that I wish I had when I was working the 9 to 5. So it's essentially how to escape the 9 to 5 and create the business and career of your dreams. And it pretty much walks you through exactly the steps that I took to get there. And it's very tactical. It's in the weeds. It talks you through exactly what email you need to send to your boss, how to have the conversation, whether or not you should tell them that you've started something on the side, whether or not you should hide it, or whether or not you should just kind of let everyone know, like, this is my thing and I'm doing doing it. So that book was really meant to kind of just help folks escape the 9-to-5 and do their own thing. Stand Out was created at the beginning, I would say, of like the internet wave and startups overall. It's probably about 8 years old now, but essentially it was meant to help companies understand how to stand out in the noisiest time to be a business, which is right now. So it talks about the fundamentals of how to create content. It talks about this idea of the 3 E's, which is every single piece of content you create should be educational, engaging, or entertaining. It talks about the psychology of why we share things on social. All of those things are in that book, and it was meant to really help entrepreneurs tell stories and create stories. So those were the first 2. I've taken a hiatus from book writing, but I have a feeling in the next few years I'm going to get back in, and it's going to be in a major way. So I'm excited for it. I am in the early kind of brainstorming stages of what that's going to look like, but look out for it. It's going to be big.
Definitely keep my eyes peeled for that.
The renowned author.
100%. You've clearly built a huge personal brand, and I think your personal brand has influenced your businesses, obviously. I mean, you started, like you said, writing the blogs as RossSimmonds.com,
for sure.
and it grew into what it is today. You speak across the world. You're a world-renowned speaker. Tell us a bit about, that part of yourself and, building a personal brand and that experience of speaking in all over the world.
Yeah, it's fascinating, right? Like when I was first getting into business, I was scared to public speak. Like I remember signing up for a local event called PodCamp, and I spoke, and I was a sweaty mess at the end of that thing. And there was probably like 40 people in the room. Now I can speak in front of 40,000 people, and it doesn't faze me, right? I'll do a quick downward dog in the back, and then I'll hit the stage, and I'm good. Like it doesn't matter to me too much. And it's been a very rewarding experience. Like I always wanted to travel and see the world, and I was like, how can I do this easily? If I can speak and I can do public speaking, people are going to be interested in that. But when I was first getting started, I was very shy. Like I was a shy kid. Like they called me Shy Ross for many years. Because I just I would show up, I was there, but I didn't talk much. I was very cerebral, so to speak, where I was thinking a lot, but I wasn't really talking. So to do that, I had to push myself to get a little bit uncomfortable. So I started to sign up for things like podcasts when I was very much afraid to do it, just because I knew and I had heard and read that if you want to be successful in business, a great way to do it is to be a good speaker. So I was like, man, I guess I got to do it. So I just started signed up to speak at a bunch of events, started to do it, and it just started to come naturally. But I would say one of the things that wasn't natural was the idea of doing it in front of folks. So what I had to do was start studying more people who did public speaking.
Makes sense.
What does that mean? I went to YouTube and I looked at all of Chris Rock, all of Chris Tucker's, all of those guys' their stand-up acts. And I started to write out what they were actually saying, line by line. So I could understand their flow, understand the way that they spoke, etc. I took all of Obama's talks. I took all of the presidential talks over the years, and I started to try to break down what do I see these folks doing that is allowing them to become some of the greatest speakers of our lifetime. I took all of Martin Luther King's talks, and I was like, all right, what does he do? He's saying things over and over again. I have a dream. He says that 3 times. Maybe I need to start saying things 3 times. So I started to study things that people would say in their talks, and then I started to use that to guide my own formulas for public speaking. And then I made a commitment to myself that every single time I spoke, I try to add as much value to the people at that event that they would leave thinking, oh, I need to hear more of Ross. I need to hear what he has to say a little bit more. Like I intentionally show up to every event trying to be the best speaker and trying to leave people knowing he's legit. That was the best talk of the event. And at some events, they give you scores. And if I get a score that is number 2, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I'm figuring out what it was. Game. I'm figuring out why wasn't I number 1, and I'm trying to fix that the next time. So I love it. I think there is a bit of a competitive element to it for me. But I think public speaking has given me the ability to reach global audiences. It's given me the ability to reach global companies. And it's also given me the ability to fly all over the world. I've been to Stockholm. I've been to Romania. I've been all over the U.S. I've been to Disneyland. All of these things expenses paid, right? Like it's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, I mean you're an animal. We were just at the Chamber of Commerce. I pulled up my notepad. Yeah. Like literally, as you and I follow you. I'm tuned in the Ross.
Exactly.
So most of the shit I already.
And then he comes with some
heard,
whole
but
new
then it's
shit.
like, holy smokes!
Yeah,
I got like 2 pages all my life.
Awesome.
After you talked, I called both of my marketing directors for Smooth and R&B, and like, here's 6 things that we got to do this week. Right? We wrote down educate, engage, entertain. Every aspect. There's a bunch of shit in there, but from that conversation, I'm like, this is.
I love it.
This real quick, I know from that last speak that I heard you at, one of the things that stood out to me was you talked about distribution.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Sorry. It was like the I have a dream. You said that shit 1,000 times. You know what I mean? Distribution.
Right.
You know, like what does that mean to the listeners? What does that mean to the young black entrepreneurs in Canada?
So 2 people, exact same skill set, exact same story, exact same message, exact same starting point. Create the exact same business. The person who has the ability to get that business in front of more people is going to win. Cut and dry. Distribution is your ability to get your story in front of more people. So we often overemphasize the idea of getting started. We often overemphasize the idea of launching a podcast and pressing publish on a piece of content. What actually matters is what you do after, how you spread that piece of content to more people, how you get your business in front of more people. So distribution is the idea that when you create something, let's say it's a YouTube video, it's a podcast, it's a blog, it's something that you want people to engage with and hear, you have to distribute it. What does that mean? It means you have to take it and you need to share it on LinkedIn, you need to share it on Twitter, you need to share it on Instagram, you need to chop it up and turn it into a Facebook post, you need to seed it into Facebook groups, you need to share it on TikTok, on Snapchat, you need to share it in your stories, and you do that all in day 1, but on day 2, you're going to do some other things. You're going to go into forums, you're going to go into communities, and you're going to share it there as well. And if you really want to scale, you're going to reach out to newsletters and podcasts and ask them to reference you on their podcast, and you're going to send them money so they can actually plug you every single week. And then you're going to reach out to a handful of other companies and ask them, hey, can you send this to your newsletter? I would love it if you would plug us. That's distribution.
Right.
It's when you don't end when you press publish your life cycle of your content and your business, but you just begin. You start to spread it and you tell that story over and over again. So this podcast episode, people should see it on Instagram. People will see it on TikTok. They'll see it on LinkedIn, on all of these different channels because of distribution, right? Distribution is what happens after you press publish, but for some reason, a lot of times we think, let's get a pat on our back for creating something. Creation doesn't matter, right? Like it doesn't matter. It's easy these days to create things. It's not that hard to just create something. What's very difficult is to get that thing in front of the right people, right? So when you think about distribution, think about how many people you believe could see and value the thing that you've developed, and then try to get it in front of them. And think bigger. Because you oftentimes will think, oh yeah, I shared it on Twitter, I shared it on LinkedIn. How many people are connected to you on LinkedIn? The average person has, I think, about 500 or so friends on all social media channels. There's billions of people in the world. Like billions. 500 does not matter.
Headed to 8 billion to be exact.
And then people get all upset. They're thinking like, oh, they're going to think I'm spammy. Oh, I'm too promotional. Friends are going to judge me because I'm sharing this stuff all the time. Nobody cares.
Nobody gives a
Nobody's thinking about you.
They're seeing a million things at once a day. You're just...
Everybody, ask yourself how often you think about other people.
Exactly.
You don't.
No.
You're thinking about yourself. And if you're thinking about them, you're probably thinking about how they think about you. You're not thinking about like them and what they've done. You're thinking what they think about you. Like people get so caught up in the idea of trying to like be perceived a certain way. There's this great podcast, I think I shared it to you many moons ago, about from Naval Ravikant, where he talks about there's 2 types of games you can play, status games and value games.
Dug into that.
Right? Like, stop playing the status games. They don't matter. It doesn't matter. Like promote your content, try to get where you want to be, promote yourself, promote your business, and be relentless at it. So many people are afraid to promote your business. Guess what? Nobody's paying your mortgage. Nobody's paying your bills unless you promote yourself. So promote it. And if somebody hates, let them hate. It's okay.
Haters are good.
They're
if
good.
You ain't got no haters, you ain't popping.
Right. It's a sign you're going in the right direction.
And somebody saw you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And they had enough energy to feed you. And that's the part where you say if you're giving value, I want as many people to see that as possible. So I'm trying to spam you.
I ain't never felt, since I've been following you on Instagram, I don't really
like,
do the
damn,
Twitter
Ross
guy.
again.
Like Ross again. Like I've never ever felt that.
Yeah.
Because it's always giving me value.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
so when and it's crazy because a lot of this is me trying to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Like, I know this guy. I and everything that you're saying, I'm seeing what was going on. You're you're letting me into the brain to tell me what's going on. It's like, yo, that shit makes sense. He ain't just saying this.
Right.
He living
He
it.
lives it.
He does
Literally.
it. You know what I mean?
He's on every platform.
Yeah.
I go on LinkedIn, Ross is there.
Right.
Facebook, Ross is there. Twitter,
So
Ross
the coolest
is there. Instagram.
the handle was created as a reminder to myself
Yeah.
to not get caught up in the idea of trying to always be cool.
Straight.
Sick.
So every time I log in, I have to remind myself, you're not here to be cool. You're here to just add value.
Straight.
So that's the Shout Out to Lupe, the coolest. That track was kind of in my headphones when I had that epiphany. But like, that's the reminder. It's like, it doesn't matter. If you add value to the world will determine if you're cool, right? Like Muhammad Ali said, I told the world I was great so many times that they believed
started to believe it.
I've told the world I've been cool so many times, the world now thinks I'm cool.
He's a cool dude.
Right? So like,
100%.
I think at the end of the day, folks, add value and don't be afraid. As you mentioned, like, don't be afraid to like promote your stuff. Like, people will resonate with it, and you get better over time. The first time you share something, the first time you take a photo of something that you're working on, your art, let's say you're an artist and you're trying to like grow your art business, you might get 5 likes.
Yep.
That's okay.
Yep.
Everybody starts somewhere. Justin Bieber's first video wasn't a hit, right?
It wasn't.
Like, you have to start somewhere. Don't lose sight of the long game as well, right? I've been in this for a while now. Everyone thinks, oh, Ross, this guy's coming
came
out
up
of nowhere.
overnight.
No, I've been in this for a minute now.
Yeah.
And you have to realize, like, everybody's starting point is going to be different. Everybody's starting point is going to kind of have different opportunities. But the first thing that we're always typically going to have, unless you're born from a Kardashian, is you're not going to get a lot of likes on your content right away.
For sure.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Right? It's
Only
okay.
Northwestern can do that.
Yeah.
We got a couple rapid fire questions here to finish us off. But they can go into some shit. Why do businesses need to prioritize digital marketing?
Because we are a digital culture. The whole world has evolved to digital. Like, we interact every single day, and everybody listening to this right now is interacting with a digital device. So that's just a fundamental way in which we as people stay connected. And it's not changing. It's continuing to become more and more real. We have our devices on us every single day, right? The first thing that most people do when they wake up is they grab their phone.
Sure.
They're not kissing their partner.
No.
They're grabbing their phone.
Yeah.
And when you realize that phones and technology has become a deep part of culture, any business ignoring it is ignoring people.
100%.
The internet isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, sure isn't. Attention is the currency. We spend about 5 hours average a day on our phones. So
That's awesome.
get on there.
That's it.
What's some advice for creating content?
I think it starts with understanding the people that you're trying to reach and thinking back about their problems and their needs. So if I'm someone who is selling, let's say, I don't know, food, I'm going to be thinking about like what is going to trigger and inspire somebody to want to purchase my food. Okay, what's that going to be? It's going to be a great visual of an amazing looking dish, because that will psychologically trigger a whole bunch of dopamine, which is going to inspire them to say, I need to order something, right? So like, having a deep understanding of that is key, and understanding the motivations of people. So I would always encourage people to put yourself in the shoes of the person that you're trying to sell to and understand their pains and create content about that. That's really what it comes down to. And then you just have to deliver, because it's great to create content, but if you don't deliver on the other end with an actual valuable product, you're going to be out of business eventually.
And then distribute that.
100%.
What are some tips for entrepreneurs who are super busy to prioritize content, digital marketing, those things?
So there's 2 things we can spend in life. We can spend money and we can spend time.
Yep.
And if you don't have a lot of money, you have to spend time. And if you're spending time and you are seeing flatline growth with your business and you are not doing anything that is like up and to the right and you're not seeing growth, then you're not spending your time in the right places, unless you're okay with just living the same life and doing the same things and having the same results. But you have to start by auditing your time and doing a review of your calendar and how you're spending your energy and asking yourself, am I spending my time on the things that are going to move the needle correctly? It's very difficult to do. because a lot of entrepreneurs think that everything that they're doing today is necessary for their business. But oftentimes what they will find is that some of the things that they have deemed necessary are actually just habits that they've created in their business that are no longer required for their business today. Something that you did in your business in the early days might not actually still be of value today. Yep. So you have to spend time reviewing what you're doing on a monthly basis instead of just doing the work over and over again. I have stole this one from Wu-Tang too, but Cream, I call out often. Calendars rule everything around me.
Tell me about
like
it.
I live and die by my
I've
calendar.
learned. Yep.
It's so key.
Yep.
It's easy to get caught up in this idea that I just want to live free and like, no, live by your calendar because time is all we've got. Like literally that's all we've got. Time is all we got. Nothing else. So if you don't look at your time, we watch what we wait, we watch how much we eat, all that stuff, but we don't watch our time. Time is so important. It's the only thing that we have, and when it's spent, you don't get it back. I can drop $50 today, and I'll get $50 tomorrow. I can drop $100 today, I'll get $100 tomorrow. If I spend an hour with you guys right now, this hour's, I would get it like that. What's the number? 20K might be difficult, but anything less, I guess. But essentially, you have to remember, like, when that time is gone, it's impossible to get it back. So I would strongly encourage people to think about their time as being their most valuable resource and being the most valuable thing that they have, and always spend time actually thinking about it. Like, think about this week. What did you do this week? Ask yourself, what did you do this week that helped you grow, helped you develop yourself? And if you can't think of it, then you're doing something wrong, right? And businesses need to operate the same way. If every single month, every single week you're doing the same things and you're just expecting different results, you're just playing
insanity.
It's insanity, right? Like, that's not how it works. You have to spend time studying your time and then using your time in the future appropriately. Otherwise, you're just going to keep doing the same.
That's so huge. And, you know, I had a talk with my mentor a couple of weeks, maybe a month ago now, and I started to calculate my time. So this podcast, all right, how much is this in my time? $100 an hour.
Right.
Talking to a customer, $30 an hour.
Right.
Washing dishes, $15 an hour. Right. So at the end of the day, I look at my calendar and say, I did these many tasks at $50 an hour, $40 an hour. I don't want to go below $100 an hour. No. My time is that's valuable now. Valuable and then, okay, as I grow, I don't want to go below $1,000 an hour. But
I love it.
You just reminded me to double down on that and hit that. And
in all areas of life.
All areas.
All areas. Everyone gets it twisted. Like, I love sports. But I had to scale back. I used to watch every game. Basketball, football, you name it. I was watching every game.
Shout out to the Eagles.
How many games are in the NBA?
There's a lot of games, bro. There's
a lot of games. There's a lot of games. I couldn't watch it all. Can't keep up. But you know how much time you're spending? Tons. And then if you take the math on it, so let's say you spend, I don't know, 1 hour every single day watching a game. That's fun. It's 365 days, right? That's 365 hours. Most people don't spend that. Most people spend 4 hours a day watching TV. That's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time.
Now multiply that by what you believe your hourly rate is.
You're losing a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Right? Ross told me one time, actually at one of the events, you know, because I'm always picking people's brains. So we're at the event with the youth, and you said something about like your time, and you're like, you know what? Like, if it costs $50, like if it costs me, take me an hour to mow my lawn, like I can get someone to do it for $50. I'm not mowing my lawn, so I stop mowing my lawn.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. I do not mow my lawn. I'll pay someone always to mow my lawn. You know what I mean? I look for all those little small tasks that like they're just not worth my time, and I do not do them. Right. Like, and I'm religious with it. You know what I mean? Right. Because like. Yeah, and I'm like, yo,
and I want to be clear with folks because some people will get this twisted. Oh, look at these three capitalists. Like, yes, I'm a capitalist, but at the same time, you do want to spend some time with family. Right? Like
100%.
The time invested in a family, the time spent with experience is still of value.
100%.
Right? It might not even have a monetary value, but that is time that you're able to spend more time with. Right?
But like, that's where I want to spend my time.
That's where you want to spend your time. Like on Tuesdays, every Tuesday, I take my daughter to gymnastics, and it's in the middle of the workday. Right? That's how I want to invest my time. I could make some money on that time.
Yeah.
But I'd rather spend it with her because that's the investment that I'm making as a dad to say, like, let's do this. Like, this is going to be a thing that we do. Yeah. So folks, when you're thinking about your time, it's not just an investment in terms of like ROI, but also from a personal, like human development and what gives you energy, right? Like, that's also important.
Huge. A couple more. So many gems, brother. The most underrated social media platform.
Twitter. I gotta say, Twitter.
Agree.
It's filled with knowledge.
I'm always telling this guy about Twitter.
The brightest minds in the world are using Twitter. Yeah. You can follow Elon Musk and learn how he thinks.
And he tweets a lot.
Right? Like you can follow some of the brightest minds of this generation and get access to them. You can tweet to them. You can engage with them, and you can learn from them. There's some of the greatest scientists. Any field that you can think of, there's an expert in that field on Twitter creating content, telling stories, and creating that on a regular basis. And for me, I think it's a massive unlock opportunity. Twitter helped create my career, right? Like because I've invested time on Twitter building relationships, I've been able to build a following on there, and you can do it no matter where you live. You can reach people all over the globe. Yeah. The biggest challenge with channels like Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat is that your content oftentimes stays within an existing community, and it often stays amongst the people who follow you. But on Twitter, when you create something that is of value, it can be spread to the masses, right? Like I've had billionaires engage with me and have conversations with me because of things that I've put out there on Twitter, and now they follow me, right? Like that is the power of this channel. I strongly believe if you want to do big things, there's a massive opportunity that exists by just following some of the greatest minds on Twitter and consuming their thoughts and their ideas, and then using them to level up your own life.
You have it.
And follow the coolest school.
Follow the coolest school.
Follow the coolest
and NS_Provo while you're at it.
There you go.
Your top 3 books.
Oh, love it. So How Will You Measure Your Life by Clayton Christensen is my favorite book. I read it pretty much every year. It's a consistent one for me. This one's going to be controversial, but White Guys Shouldn't Have All the Fun by Reginald Lewis. Okay. Another great book. It just leveled up my thinking around the fact that, yes, you can create a massive company and be black and do great deals.
Sure.
So that was a very inspiring book for me. And then I would probably throw in a recent one that I read called Dare to Lead by Brene Brown, which is about how to be a great leader and how to lead people and leverage things like vulnerability to kind of connect with your people and your team. So those would be the 3 that I call out. But I'm a big reader. I love it. I think reading, I forget who said it. I think it might have been Dad. I don't know. So either Dad said it or somebody else said it. But they said there's no problem that you can go through in life that's not in a book, that somebody else has already written about or gone through, right? Like we overcomplicate whether or not our lives are that complex. There's been billions of people before us. There's going to be billions of people that come after us. And somebody somewhere wrote a book or a blog post or a tweet storm or a LinkedIn post about the same problem you're going through. Whether it's a personal family life problem, whether it's a business problem, somebody's been there, somebody's done it. You're not that special. Read it, learn it, and then use that to kind of evolve.
What advice would you give to some young entrepreneurs coming up?
So the first thing would be to double down on your own personal growth, right? Like you have to take it so seriously. You have to really spend a lot of time recognizing that you are your biggest asset, and you have to be your biggest cheerleader, and you need to make the time intentionally to grow yourself and develop yourself. I think another key thing that is very important for young people is it's better to go alone than with the wrong people. It's better to go alone than with the right people.
One more time.
It's better to go alone than with the wrong people, right? Like go solo if you have to. And I'm not just talking about business. I'm talking about your personal life too. Sure. You have to have a partner either in business or in life that is going to elevate you and support you. Shout out to my wife, Chris. Like we've been together since the early days, and without her, I probably wouldn't be where I am, right? Because she helps elevate me. She pushes me across all elements. I say I'm not going for a run. Oh, doesn't sound like you got a good excuse.
Exactly.
It's raining? Yeah. Oh, that's not a reason, right?
Like, yeah.
You need to have a partner who pushes you. And I would encourage any young entrepreneur not to get into a relationship with somebody who's going to drag them down and try to hold them down and hold them back and doesn't see their vision, support their vision. You want to find a partner who's going to truly be like the Clyde and Bonnie concept where you're going at it together. That's a key piece. That's a cheat code to life. The other piece is when you're going into business, you need to ensure that you're aligning yourself with people who have a similar perspective, people who want growth, people who want to develop yourself. It's a cliche that we've already talked about, this idea that you are the people that you're surrounded by, but it's a cliche for a reason. You actually are. You become the average of the people that you spend the vast majority of your time with. And if you aren't spending your time with people who are going to elevate you in a certain way, you're gonna stay the same, right? I spent I can remember very specific moments in my life where I would be spending a lot of time at the gym, and then my fitness happened to improve, and I started to spend more time with people who were getting in shape, and I just noticed, why am I always getting in shape? Like, why am I eating healthier? Like, what's happening? It's because those are the people I'm spending time with. Oh, I'm spending more time with people in business. Oh, my business is booming. Like, why? What's the correlation? There's a direct relationship with the people you surround yourself with and the things that start to happen. So align yourself with the right people, and remember, if you don't have them, it's better to go alone than it is to just go ahead with the wrong people.
The wrong people that you already got.
That's it.
Ross Simmonds.
Ross Simmonds, man.
Just a Preston
Simmonds,
boy.
Man.
That's it. Just a Preston boy.
Just a Preston boy.
Cue the round of applause.
Holy
man,
smokes.
much appreciated. However much time we were at, an hour or whatever, full of game, full of gems.
What extended time for Ross?
Oh no, there's no cuts on this one. But man,
appreciate it.
Much love, actually one question Corvell had that he didn't get to. Black people. We got a black audience. We're visual.
I love it.
Right?
100%.
Niggas want to know how much we respect cash, we respect money, we respect big.
Right.
However you can give us something to say. You don't got to say a number, whatever you feel comfortable.
So at 22, it's already out there on the internet. I made $270K.
Okay.
At 22, I'm 31.
It's simple. Do you understand?
Do the math.
And he was growing. He grew.
Do the math, and he probably grew. I say maybe 10x on that. I don't know.
And the thing I'll say too,
Take
like
what the Forbes figure and figure more.
No, straight. And I'll say this. I'll say this because it's really important. Again, I go back to my childhood. I go back to my upbringing. I go back to being there. Yeah. Ross was there. Ross was a part of my life. And when we talk about, he said something that hit home to me. It's better to go alone than go with the wrong crowd. You know what I mean? And I watched Ross go a lot alone. Him and his family, him and his cousins and stuff. They chose different paths. And when you look at life, it's like I'm a super fan of yours.
Appreciate it.
But the thing that I admire most and that I respect most is like, you didn't just kind of go and enter the world and be small. Like you big. You know what I mean? And so like for me and to the little homies and to all the people watching, like just understand the paths. Right. And we constantly go in the wrong path. I'm proud of who I am. I love myself and I don't regret nothing. But to know that like there's people that come from where I come from, the same exact era that I come from. He's seen all the things that I've seen.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
And he chose a different path, and where he's at in his life now is like, it's amazing. You know what I mean? Even sitting here talking to him and just listening is like, yo, this guy's next level. Like he's a meta-human. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like he's on some next shit, and he come from where I come from. And I think anybody that's from the community of Preston, man, when you see this face, man, give him a hug. Bother him. Ask him up. It ain't going to bother him, but ask him 1,000,001 questions. You thinking about going in business, hit this guy up, man, because what he's done for me, and I know Novell, I think that he could do it for you too. And just by following him, putting him in a part of your leadership circle, I think is going to matter a whole lot in your future, man. So, I super appreciate you, man. You know what I mean?
And that's why, we wanted to bring you up here. And that's why I mentioned that, because, for us growing up, the guys I seen with the most money were dudes in the streets, right? And to give the perspective, this is probably the richest guy in North Preston history. Probably. I mean, I don't know who else, right? So and again, that's what he is. This is the richest man in North Preston history here, and that's what we value and respect money, and we go down those paths for money, but for the youngins, we tapped in with the youngins. For the youngins, this is the guy, and here's how he's doing it. Yeah. Building content, growing global businesses, and doing that at a major level. So, much love. Thanks for coming, bro.
Happy to be here, man. I think at the end of the day, one of the things that I think about often is like the next generation. And for me, the biggest thing when I look at my kids, I think like I don't want them to be the only ones, right? Like I want to see everybody's kids have the same opportunities. I want all of us to unlock, like the last episode or 2 episodes ago, generational wealth. And I think it's very important that we do that. Because our parents, our grandparents, and our ancestors went through things that were 20 million times harder than anything that we can face. And if we can intentionally put our energy and our efforts to elevate the young people, elevate each other, and start to truly be the tribe that we probably were before we were broken apart, and that's a whole nother conversation. We can all rise up, right? Like we can all rise up together, and if we can all rise up together as a unit, man, there's some power in that. So I encourage everyone to stay supportive of each other. And it's not support in the sense that you always have to throw money out of business just because it's somebody that you know. It's support in the sense that you like respect each other's hustle, you respect each other's grind, and you elevate each other and you show up for each other in the spaces that we need to. So I appreciate you guys just doing this. I'd be happy to come back on again, but I think the key is to just keep adding value to the culture, because the culture needs it, the culture wants it, and it's never been a better time to be a business, and I respect you both. So thanks for having me.
We ain't got no more to say, man. Ross Simmonds, the Preston legend, my family, you know what I mean?
Indeed.
Right? Appreciate you,
Much
bro.
love.
Appreciate it,
Shout
fellas.
out to Gary, too, man.
Shout out to
Indeed.
Gary.
Doing his thing.
My brother,
Doing his
man.
thing.
Yeah,
Gary's
man.
my guy.
Yeah.
Be awesome.
Different time zones.
Yeah, exactly. Boom.
Peace.